Hello and welcome to Teal House Farm. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Today we are going to talk about 5 tips to tracking your homeschool day. Let's go. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly is she talking about when she says tracking my homeschool? Today we're going to talk about 5 ways to keep track of the hours that you are homeschooling. This is important because from what I understand in basically every state, one of the big requirements to prove that you are homeschooling is that you keep a log of how many hours you spend each day on school. Now remember, when you are keeping hours, school doesn't just mean book work. Micah is in 2nd grade and we do about an hour and a half of book work each day. But there are other things that we do during the day that are learning activities. Everything from building with Legos to helping cook in the kitchen to read aloud time or family Bible devotional time. Those all are learning activities that she is actively creating and learning new skills. So keep that in mind when you do start tracking your hours. So now let's get to it though. I'm going to show you 5 ways to help make tracking your hours for homeschool easier, to make it efficient, and to make sure that you have good records if you are ever needing to show them to prove that you are homeschooling your children. The first thing that I highly recommend if you are tracking homeschool hours is a paper log. And I know that that sounds super old-fashioned, especially with all of the apps you can download today and Excel spreadsheets you can make or using Google Sheets and have it available everywhere. The reason that I highly recommend a paper log like this is that paper is easily accessible. You don't have to turn on your computer and load something up to log. It's right there, you pull it off your shelf and you fill it out. Paper also can't have things like system errors and formula errors like an Excel spreadsheet. I logged Micah's entire kindergarten year on a Google Sheet and discovered that somewhere near the beginning there was a calculation error and it was adding everything incorrectly for every day of the year. It was really frustrating. Pencil, paper, and simple addition was the best way to go to avoid those sort of things that'll just frustrate you to no end. Number 2, I highly recommend keeping dual logs. And when I say dual logs, what I mean is a master log for you as the parent that tracks the time, and I'll show you what this looks like more specifically in just a second, and a log that each of your students can look at. So these are my 2 students' daily planners. We have 2 kids old enough for school right now. So Micah has a purple one and Ivy has this teal one. And these planners have written in them what they're supposed to accomplish on each day. And then when this is accomplished, they can check it off. It helps keep them on track. But for me, it's helpful too, because if one day is just really busy and I don't get my time log filled out, I can go back and remind myself what we did on that day and have a real good way to judge how much time we spent on each subject. So number 3, let's talk about how we actually calculate hours on this worksheet. I highly recommend keeping your master worksheet for you as homeschooling mom or dad as basically a calendar, and separate your courses that your child is doing into 2 categories. You have your core hours. Core hours is what you would consider a core subject if they went to public school. Science, math, English, history, geography, those types of things. And non-core hours. Those are your extras, your fine arts, your PE classes. For us, that's a Bible class, and we also include life skills. Those are things like home economics types lessons. The reason for separating core and non-core is that most states require that you have a certain number of core hours that your student completes each year and a certain amount of non-core hours that your student completes each year. By separating your tracker in this way, it's very easy to total and add so that you have separate totals for your core hours and non-core hours, and it's very simple to keep a list so you know how far along your student is in both categories. My number 4 tip is that you keep daily totals each day and make yourself a little note too about what you did on each day. The note is more for my own reference. In Missouri, if we ever had to prove that we were homeschooling, the only thing that they really want to see is the hours, that we've met our 1,000 hour requirement. In Missouri, that's 600 core hours, 400 non-core hours. If you look, I leave myself a note. Maybe it's what page numbers we did or what specific topic we covered, and then I'll put in there how long it took. And then at the very bottom, I'll total up my core hours, and then I'll total up my non-core hours, and then I keep a running tab, and at the end of each week I calculate the total core and non-core. And then in the back of my book I keep a monthly total. Upon filming this video for this year, we actually have not finished the month of August, which is why there's nothing filled out. But I'll put the monthly total of core hours and non-core hours for August here. The reason that I keep it in the back of the book is that I open this book every day, and if this is the first page, by the end of the year, these poor little 3 hole punches are just going to be torn to shreds. It's in the back because I only need to really access it once a month. And this is kind of a hot button topic in Missouri when it comes to homeschooling, is how do you actually calculate hours? There's some people who say that a lesson is an hour. If you were in a public school classroom, your class is only 45 or 50 minutes, but that counts for a credit hour. And in homeschool, because there are not 30 other kids in your class, that lesson may only take you 20 minutes to complete instead of that 50 minutes. So therefore, when you complete the lesson, that's really the same as 1 hour in the public school classroom, and you should list that as an hour on your chart. I am not in that pool of people, and my only reason for that is upon going and actually reading the homeschool laws for my state, everything that I've read specifically says hour, and there's never a parentheses or addendum that says an hour is a lesson or an hour represents this or it's not a time hour. It never says anything like that. So in my opinion, if I'm trying to keep records so that if there are ever to be an incident where I had to prove that I am actually homeschooling my children, which I am and I work very hard at, I want to make sure that there is no room for anyone to accuse me of not doing the right thing. So I actually calculate time hours. However, I do round to the nearest quarter hour, but I do try to be consistent. So if we do a 14-minute class, I'll round that to a quarter hour. If we do a 33-minute lesson, I will round that down to a half hour. So rounding up and rounding down consistently gets me a pretty even average. I'll write the quarter hour on my sheet and then total at the bottom and total for the week and then total for the month, and then we get a pretty accurate representation of how long we are taking for each subject. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them below. I'd be happy to answer them. I will do a video here coming up soon about how we put these student planners together each month to keep the kids on track for the larger goal. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.